Hello, my name's Gary Shotton, and I'm here as a part of Inspiring Better Business IBB Talks. And today I'm going to talk about gaining or getting customers, and especially regarding my story. Well, all of us have a story, and mine starts with me, my first business after I had moved from 1,200 miles from after working for an oil company. I had decided to go to Bible school, and my wife and I, with our 3 children, moved using my family car, pulling a horse trailer that I had borrowed from my dad. And this horse trailer is fairly big. It's big enough to haul 4 horses, and I had learned how to put all the stuff I thought I needed for a year, and my washer, dryer, my beds, my kids' clothes, a few toys. I got quite a bit packed in that horse trailer. And so when it came to my new town, I had called ahead and expected to get a good job, but no job. The economy had turned, my demand for employment was next to none, and I had to hustle. I had a family, I say, of 5, 3 little children, and I had rent and utilities and tuition and all the things that go along with life. And so my objective was then to get something going. Yes, it was starting with something I had. I wasn't even thinking about it becoming a business, and over time it grew after many years to actually have many trucks, many employees, and some storage facilities, and that took some time though. So to start with though, I was faced with, how do I get customers? Now, if somebody has a current job and you're not in my situation, I strongly recommend that you keep that revenue stream. Keep your job. Don't quit. Keep your sideline business growing until your sideline business, which could be your actual business, outgrows, and it's logical for you to move away from having a regular paycheck into your company, your little company, paying you the equivalent of what you're making for somebody else. Be careful. Don't just quit. Now, for me, I couldn't get a job. So with this, I had few little things to get started. I knew about putting an ad in the newspaper that I said, let me help you move. I have a 5-foot by 16-foot trailer. I didn't use the word horse in there. I just said trailer and gave the dimensions, and let me help you move. And a few people called me as a result of that ad. But it wasn't enough. We're still fitting in after school, starting at noon till the end of the evening and on Saturdays. But I needed more business, and I started. I actually got my first a real truck, and I eventually had a second truck, even while I was going to school. And I could handle some more work because I hired some people. Well, even while I was going to school. Well, while I was in that newspaper looking at my ad, I looked right over there, and there's houses for sale. Wow, this is not a rocket science. If somebody is moving or selling their house, logically they would need someone to move them. Why wouldn't I offer that? So I would take newspapers and I would tear off that pages that had houses for sale by owner. And I created a system where I had little recipe cards and a little recipe box. And I had my little system so that I wouldn't call the same person twice in the same week or a couple weeks. I categorized them by the phone number I was calling them, so I could look up in sequentially and make sure that I hadn't called this person again, because that newspaper next week would have that same number in it and I wouldn't know. So I called these people, and more times than not, they were fairly pleased that I called. I would ask them, could I call them back in a couple weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, based on the conversation. I would set a time period and I would call them back. And that worked pretty good. Well, then I also saw, as I was around town, that people had yard signs that said houses for sale by owner. I would look at the address, go down to the library at that time, look up the address in this big book that they had, and I could normally find the name of the person and find their phone number. Now you can find that all online. Wow, that's pretty easy. So here's where I was. This is 35 years ago, and it was before Facebook. It was before the internet. It was before cell phones. I know that doesn't seem possible, but that wasn't that long ago. And now you have a lot more avenues to present your product and service, but it's not the only thing. Back to my story. Well, as time went on, I realized that realtors selling houses also were in touch with the same people that I wanted to be in touch with. If somebody was selling a house, moving because they sold a house, or moving because they bought the house, why wouldn't I get in their pathway and see if I couldn't build a relationship with these realtors? Well, now I'm starting to become leveraging my time and effort through others that had kind of gathered the crowd of people and gathered the group of people together, meaning those selling houses, and that worked really well. We had the realtors where I took donuts to their weekly meeting. One agency at a time, I invited them over to our facility and fed them a nice meal and made sure they knew who we were, and we got some great jobs out of that. I also discovered retirement homes. The people in charge of retirement homes have some responsibilities to help their clients, their people in those homes, and they have some homes are independent living, and these people normally can't move their own furniture. They don't want to bother their family. They don't want to bother their church people. They'd be gladly pay us. And we did a ton of jobs with retirement centers. We discovered mini storage facilities. Wow. If there's a mini storage facilities, people are moving in and out once again. I bumped in and became a truck rental agent, so I rented trucks. And that agency actually used us a lot. And we became interstate movers because by hustling, by keeping my eyes open, by looking at opportunities, I never ever in my entire life have stopped looking for opportunities. And that's where it started when I had this company. I'm always looking for who could use my services. How could I present that? And that's the attitude you're going to have. Now, all this is to gain new customers, but please do not overlook the importance of having happy customers that will become repeat customers, that will become referral customers. By far, the cheapest thing you can do is keep your current customer coming back to you. And they feel so good about it that they would tell others. There's no amount of money that can override that through all these other ways. Even if I don't pay much money for these your repeat and referral have to be number one. Well, there's also your general attitude towards this. So your attitude through all these realms of customers has to be more not selling something to them, but serving them, finding truly what they needed. That's why we became both a rental company and an interstate moving company, because we knew if someone's moving out of the area, they had two choices: rent a truck and help someone load it, or do a van lines. We did both, and we would come in with our package deal and say, pick what you want. We're here to serve you. What's best for you? Be willing to experiment. Don't just set on what you've been doing. Always be willing to look and change, and know that no one said this was going to be easy, and that's kind of the fun part of it. That's the challenge of it. There's a challenge in increasing sales. And then I tried to say yes more often than not. I know when I was answering the phone calls coming in way early, I had a bunch of people calling me, could you move me out of the country? Well, as soon as I realized that there's a few phone calls, I started saying, yes, let me get back with you. And I found out an agency that I would represent for moving households to Germany, households to Bangladesh, households to other countries in the world. And I had a little piece of that business. And then never, ever, ever forget that God's on your side. Now, this is not a token to the end. God will open your eyes to see the avenues that you can go into your business. That's what He did for me. I went to Bible school to learn faith and how the Holy Spirit worked in my life. And to be honest with you, I just answered the questions right in that school, and it was a great foundation. But I learned how faith worked. I learned how to be led by the Holy Spirit when I was doing exactly what I'm telling you, when I was using it in my business, using it to expand my business, using it to meet and greet and involved with the highways and byways with people, the people that work for me and our customers that we worked for. We thank you for being a part of Inspiring Better Business.